how the 49ers can structure the Deebo extension. Let's talk about it.
Yeah. So first of all, I think what people don't understand about the Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams contracts is that they're not as expensive as they look on the totality, right? There's big void years in the back that really, really boost up the contract. It's a lot of money up front, right? For the two, I think the first 2 years for both are fully guaranteed. So it is a hell of a lot of money for both players. Maybe a little bit more money than how far the Niners would be willing to go with Deebo Samuel, but it's not as large in terms of just being $30 million a year. And I think a lot of people have talked about it, about why, keeping Garoppolo is okay. They talked about the cap boom with the Amazon deal. To me, that's all the more reason why, there's things you can do right. Because first of all, the Niners are betting on the cap boom because look at what they did with George Kittle and Eric Armstead's contract, right? They delayed it an extra year with the expectation that once the cap booms, relative to the cap, $28 million will become a decent hit, will be a more efficient cap hit than his cap hit being $20 million relative to today's cap. Does that make sense? It's a proportion.
Yes.
Yeah, it's proportionate.
Yes.
So that's the idea. And so with that, I think Deebo Samuel's contract, if you're scared about his longevity and all of that, you can front load his contract.
Yes.
You've done a bunch of backloaded deals.
Yeah.
Nick Bosa is going to get compensated by his fifth-year option, right? Because a fifth-year option is essentially almost like a franchise tag. It's going to pay Nick Bosa north of $20 million because of what the defensive end market is, or somewhere near that, and it's going to be fully guaranteed. So you can backload Bosa and have him be backloaded. You have Trent Williams kind of in the middle. He's not really front-loaded, but he's not really backloaded because you have an out in I want to say it's 2024 that you have an out. You can front load Deebo's contract, give him guaranteed money up front in his first 2 years, and then take it year by year with him for the second half of his deal. It's certainly a possibility. There's ways to structure this. I think a lot of people are overdoing, well, they can't sign him to a lot of money because of the cap. That's not really the case. There's creative ways you can manipulate the salary cap in this case in order to make Deebo and Bosa get paid every single penny that they're worth. In fact, I think it would behoove them to front load Deebo's deal, because I think he's also looking for the guaranteed money up front. It would make sense for both sides because the Niners have really pushed their contracts with the expectation of this cap boom. You can pay Deebo up front, right? You're going to open up $25 million that'll roll over for Garoppolo next year. You could put $18 million of that into Deebo Samuel right away, or something like that. I'm you know what I'm saying, right? I'm not, it's not exactly, I'm saying something. But the point is, and you can have him have, 2 years of fully guaranteed money, the same way Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams had. I don't know what the number will be. That's obviously open for their conversation or whatever. And then you can take him year by year and have his cap hits balloon later with void years and have just what the Niners always do, structure an out for if he's not on the roster by the start of the new league year, his dead cap hit is $1 million. They do this all the time. You could definitely do that. Create some sort of creative structure and 100% get this deal done. I don't know what, again, we're talking about details without being a part of what these people are even talking about in the negotiation. But there's
the Niners don't have to commit to him long term. That's the whole point. Like,
yes.
You don't have to commit to him long term. If you feel like, well, we're going to be playing him at running back and we don't really know, like, okay, but he's still your best player now. So keep him now. It seems like this is fixable. This is definitely
it is fixable.
That's the whole point of having a quarterback like Trey Lance. Look at Miami. They are spending really big dollars on receivers because their quarterback is cheap. It's what you can do. It's the perk.
And you can balloon. And the entire point that I think we're saying is that you can balloon his annual dollars per year. So you can give him a ton of guaranteed money. And his contract, technically, when he is like under contract, could be like 21, 22 million, but the entire deal could look like 30 million. It's like Quan Alexander. Quan Alexander's deal is kind of this structure. There's a lot of guaranteed money up front for him, relative to the linebacker market. But really, there were so many outs that he was never making $16 million, and it was so backloaded. In Deebo's case, you can kind of front load the deal in terms of when he gets his money, but backload the deal in terms of ballooning the cap hits the way they did with Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill. Like, I don't think Devontae Adams is going to be on the Raiders when he's going to make $31 million. In fact, I think Trent Williams' deal and Von Miller, look at both of them. They both got signed at 32 massive deals. It was 6-year, $120 million for Von Miller. I think Williams was 140. Was it 140?
Yeah, something like that. That's something like that.
Yeah, and really, you don't expect both of them to make it to that far in their contract. So therefore, I think I don't want to see the narrative that, oh, they can't pay him because there's some sort of cap or cap troubles or anything. Because honestly, once they get rid of Garoppolo, which any day now would be nice, but we'll be waiting still. We'll wait through OTAs. Hopefully they'll get rid of him at some point. There are so many different ways for them to be able to manipulate this where it's not going to bother them, in my opinion, in order to be able to sign both these players. Now, at the same time, that doesn't mean you throw and I don't want to sound like I'm coming across that way, right? I'm not recommending that the 49ers just whatever Deebo and Bosa want, just pay them whatever they want. They have to negotiate and they have to be smart about what they feel is a good number in allocating these resources. That's why there's a negotiation and they're going to go through that process. But they're not being restricted by the cap, especially with it set to boom with the Amazon Prime deal.
Agree. Let's address what Ryan's saying here. Deebo may or may not be a diva, but he's definitely not handling his business professionally. You know what? I can't
handling your business professionally.
Dude, I can't disagree with this though. I mean, honestly, like, I guess a few people in the world can do what he's doing, but like, I would never subtweet my employer ever, no matter what was going on behind the scenes. And it's like, Bosa's not doing it. Kittle didn't do it. I'm sure they had issues. I'm sure they're going to have issues. But the whole idea of like sort of letting it play out on social media does seem a little childish.
You think so?
It does. I mean, I don't think it's a great look, but at the same time, it wouldn't change my opinion on what to do. It's like, oh, well, he might be a little immature. Let's trade him. Like, no. Oh, he has a big ego.
I don't think it's
I'll keep
really. Him. I personally, and I think it might be a little generational thing. Maybe. Just because I'm a little bit younger. I guess I grew up, with social media always being pretty prominent in my life from like maybe when I was 10, 11 years old. I just find it to be a simple form of expression, just like, talking to people or whatever. I don't see anything unprofessional about him removing something from his Instagram. Like, I don't know why people are so up in arms. I understand why it's worth having a conversation, why you have to talk about it, but I don't think that changes in terms of professional. To me, professional is he not committed to being the best he can be? Is he not committed to ensuring that the 49ers can win games? The guy puts his body on the line every single week for the 49ers to win games. He shows up and he gets his job done every week. He plays hurt. He does it all. I don't think he's done anything unprofessional from that standpoint.
Also, the whole scrubbing your Instagram of pictures with the team, it could be an agent thing. Like, look, you're playing hardball with us. You're saying, I mean, like, technically we're not I know he's still on the team, but like, if you're going to say all this stuff, don't expect us to like promote your brand while you're talking us down. We can get back to promoting your logos and your brand.
And that's locked up. There you go. Right. Grant, because to me, that's where you hit the nail on the head. And that's where I don't understand this. You know why these athletes have to ask for this much money? Because you know how much the owners are profiting off of these players? Yeah. Like Deebo Samuel, no matter how big his contract is, he's not going to make a fraction of how much he's making for Jed York.
That's true. That's true.
Why should he be out here giving Jed York money until Jed York pays him his money?
That's fair. Because I think
there's nothing unprofessional about that.
It made a lot of sense from Kyler's perspective. Like, the Cardinals are nowhere. They're not. They don't have a brand. And Kyler's more famous than their entire franchise. So if they want to say like, oh, well, you're not this or you're not that, like Kyler's thing is like, dude, you're nothing without me. And just me taking my pictures down is going to be bad for your marketing. And I feel like when Deebo does it, like the Niners are something because of what they use, kind of like the Yankees and Lakers. Like you're just a brand. And maybe it doesn't have the same effect, but it's the same.
No, it doesn't have the same effect. But at the same time, I understand why he's doing it. It makes sense. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's childish. Oh, he shouldn't do it. Why? Isn't it childish? I think I don't get it. I don't understand.
I think taking your pictures down is cool. The thing that's probably a little unprofessional is when he like is like taking pictures with his friends going out, and he's like, "Yo, like 25 mil." Like, you probably don't need to do that, but at the same
No,
time,
maybe not. Maybe
yeah,
not.
I'm just
Maybe
saying.
not. But I don't know if I would call it unprofessional, quote unquote.
True.
Because I think it would be unprofessional if he shows up to camp, not in shape. I think it would be
That's true.
unprofessional if he
That's
does
true.
those type of things. I don't think there's anything quote unquote
I think it's more
unprofessional.
immature than unprofessional, because unprofessional stuff would make you want to get a guy off a team. Someone being immature at 26, it's like, okay, like a lot of people are immature. I was immature at 26. Like, it's not a deal breaker at all, but I can understand why it's turning some Niner fans off a little bit. Chris says, but your employer's not the NFL, is different. That's true. Good point, Chris.
Yeah.
It's not a 1-to-1 comparison.
Yeah. No, 100%. That's fair.
Vish, it's childish. Stop it. That's what I was trying to say. It's a little childish. It's like it just kind of feels like it's like a relationship between Deebo and the Niners, and they're kind of like not breaking up, but they're having a fight, and they're like doing little things on social media to each other. It's like, it's kind of childish from the Niners end too. Like, you're going to talk to Peter King about it. Like, can't you just
Let me ask you this, Grant? Let me ask you this, because we never hold organizations accountable for this. Was the Brandon Ayuk situation not childish this year? What the 49ers did with Brandon Ayuk?
Yes, it was.
Saying it was not a problem, saying he was not in the doghouse, then leaking to Chris Collinsworth before the Colts game, "Oh, I love the kid, but he's got to grind." Was that not childish?
It certainly was.
Nobody ever holds the organization accountable for these actions.
True. It's true. The organization's professionalism is a given, and certain of these players are. It's true. It's a good point. Chris, once again, says, "Thank you, Vish." He said nothing to the Niners. All he did was remove IG picks. That's not childish. That's not unprofessional. Life after football. Okay, hold on, because I said childish. What was childish was like when he says, "I'm done showing you what I can do. What are you going to do for me?" Little things like that. Or when his friend says, "If it ain't 25 million, we don't want to hear it," and he says slime. I think those things. I'm just saying, but again, who cares? I'm not his agent. I'm not his coach. I just think that the Niners should give Deebo Samuel all the money he wants.
I'm so sick of people being so pro organization and not ensuring that and getting so up in arms, because I think that part of the issue is that people view it as everything is good and dandy in these locker rooms, and they don't like use a realistic lens of real life with these players. Like,
that's true.
I don't think Brandon Ayuk deserved the way that went. What did Brandon Ayuk ever say to the media during that time that would give you the impression that he was, unhappy or anything? He might not have been working hard enough. You could maybe say that, but then it goes back to what Rodney Harrison to me said on NBC after this Colts game. If he said that I like John Lynch a lot, that's, in my opinion, that's not how you handle a situation for a player you traded up in the first round for. You bring him into your office, you wrap your arm around him, and you tell him the truth, and you tell him you still believe in him. You don't tell Chris Collinsworth he's not grinding hard enough. Like, what?
Yeah, that's unprofessional.
Organizations leak crap about these players all the time.
And that's unprofessional, but we don't call it that. It's just part of the business, right? It's just part of the business. Yeah. Anyway, I guess so. It's very interesting what's happening with Deebo Samuel. He is taking control, I guess, of his negotiation in a very 2022 way, and a lot of people don't like it. The Niners don't like it. I mean, the Niners.
I don't know why people don't like when athletes control their narratives.
Yes,
and they control what they're doing, and they take control of their profession. Nick Bosa's. I can't wait. A lot of people are really happy with Nick Bosa right now. Nick Bosa's negotiation is going to go off differently. But if you don't think Nick Bosa is coming for every penny he deserves,
go read the articles about Joey Bosa when he was up for contracts with the Chargers. It was never easy for the Chargers. They had to pay top of the market, no concessions at all for the Bosas. Sorry.
Good.
Yeah.
Joey Bosa deserved it. Absolutely. Nick Bosa deserves it too.
Yeah. So Deebo's turn. Anyway, Deebo's an interesting test case. He's a Rorschach right now. A lot of fans turned off. A lot of fans still think he should be on the team. He should be the highest paid player, or he should get what he wants.
I don't know. I don't know if he should get what he wants.
I don't
know if his actions
from being like, I want to be the highest paid non-quarterback, to the next day being like 25 million sounds good.
No, but that's the thing, right? That's the thing, right? What people don't understand, and that's why I want to keep going back to that video that we talked about, because we lay out all of this. Why would Deebo come to the 49ers immediately and say, I don't want to be the highest paid in my position. I don't think I'm as good as Tyreek Hill. I don't think I'm as good as Devontae Adams. pay me right here, and that's okay. Do you think the Niners would immediately fork it out?
I'm
Hell
a
no.
modest
They
guy.
would look at Deebo Samuel.
I'm a
They would
humble
say,
guy.
"Oh, you're only here? We thought you would be here. Well, instead of our starting our negotiation here, we're going to start it down here, and now let's meet in the middle of that."
Right. So it's just what's interesting. Hold on, what I want to say is also like what I keep saying is Deebo probably shouldn't do this on social media, or Deebo probably shouldn't do that on social media. And if I was agent, maybe I'd tell him that. But I'm a hypocrite because every time he does anything on social media, I profit off of it. Anytime. He could just write slime on a picture and I make a video, people watch it. So at the same time, Deebo, keep doing your thing. I am not your mom, your dad, your agent, anyone. I'm just the guy who profits off of your.
I think it's because people want to look at the situation, right, and say, "Oh, everything's good and dandy. Deebo and Parag are going for cups of coffee." No, excuse me, Deebo's agent and Parag, they're sitting at Starbucks and they're talking to each other. And Parag's like,
Deebo went out for dinner.
He's like, "Why don't you give Deebo another 10 million?" And the agent's like, "No. We want to build a better team. We'll give you 5 million here." And they're talking like that. That's just not how this works. That's not real life.
No.
That's not how any negotiation in any business works. In fact, my school, they teach you this. I got paid for my job. I got, if you look at, on Glassdoor and stuff for the salary recommendations, I was offered the highest possible salary that you could get, that anybody in my position generally gets offered. At the same time, my school taught me, we took a class on this, an ethics class, that no matter what, you always negotiate. You always ask for a little bit more, just because if you could get it, get it. And so I negotiated, and I got a little bit more. So I mean, granted, I wasn't, doing anything on social media about it, but like, this is real life. People negotiate for money every day.
Yeah. The difference is that we're just getting a little glimpse into Deebo's psyche right now. And what I've been telling people, I even told Deebo this was going to happen. Like, when athletes get to their first contract extension, especially if they're like on the cusp of making big money, like Armstead, Kittle, Deebo, they get real anxious. It's like I don't know. It's something new that they've never experienced before. I think their whole lives, people have been telling them how great they are. They've been recruited.
This is their life's work being rewarded.
And then all of a sudden, the team that loves you, all the coaches, they love you. They're the greatest. You're the greatest. You sit down at the negotiating table and you hear what they really think about you. And it's like, what? And so there's a lot of anxiety. There's always a happy ending. They get their money and they live happily ever after, but with generational wealth. But right now, Deebo's a very anxious man.
Yeah, I bet you both. Of course.
And the
other thing, Grant, is people get upset about the social media. Tomorrow, if Deebo got traded, do you not think the Niners would post out a million things through a variety of reporters leaking about how Deebo asked for too much? We didn't love Deebo in the building as much as this, blah, 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 blah.
In the meeting rooms, what he was like in practice. He didn't.
He didn't say hello to Deebo to control his narrative.
Yeah. He was rude to the people that made lunch. He wouldn't talk to the janitors. He didn't do this. I mean, those kind of things would come out.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was more about himself than team, all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, very interesting. Very interesting. Thank you, Peter King, for giving us something to talk about today. Thank you, Deebo, for just being you. Vish, thank you very much. This is your show. You don't have anything to Vish is cool, man. He's just like, dude, I don't even do this. But any person that wants you on your show, everyone already knows that show's gonna pop. You're a legend, and you don't even want to be in the industry. You're like, man, I don't even do this, man. I'm an engineer. But I just, you know what? Once a week, I'll tell the Niners what's up, and everyone's like, "Yeah, thanks, Vish. We didn't even know."
No, it's really fun because I love football. I mean, if you paid attention, I was watching the safeties. I was watching them at like 2 a.m. I was just watching it because I was interested. I was reading about Brian Cook. I'm just interested in it. But my fear is that if I did it as any sort of profession, I would lose that, just the hobby and the enjoyment of having an outlet of sports. So I genuinely love it. I appreciate you more than you can ever know for giving me the opportunity, because it's also therapeutic for me. Like, I think about this stuff on every free waking thought that I have that's not related to school or anything. And so it's fun to come express it. Sometimes people like what I have to say. Sometimes people don't. I just try to be true to myself and be as authentic as possible with what makes sense in my head.
But you got like that anti-grind. Like, you're like the underground rapper that everyone in the Bay Area or like locally knows and is like, we're universally respected, but is not signed.
Kilo.
Is not signed. And you have like all these
two good songs, Grant. Kilo.
It's like, the longer you keep holding out and being like, I don't want to do this. I feel like the more likely the Athletic's going to be like, come on, Vish, can we please get you? I feel like it's interesting. Hey, watch what Vish is doing. Because a lot of us are always like trying to be like, come on, let me in the door. Vish is like, I don't want to do this. That could work. Maybe saying you don't want to be a sports writer is the key to becoming a highly successful sports writer. I'm not sure, but I think it could work. So let's give it a shot. Let's be more like Vish this week.
I think we need to be more like you, Grant.
No, I work too hard. I'm stressed.
You do work too hard.
I work too hard.
What do you got? 2 extra streams coming after this?
Nah, man. Monday, it's just you, man. Just you. I'm done for the day, baby.
No, Wednesday is your day, right? Tomorrow. Wednesday you go 3.
Wednesday I go 3. Jose, I'm ringing Jose. I met up with Jose, had drinks with him yesterday. He was like, why do we not do a show? I'm like, yeah, good question. So Jose's Wednesday now, then Larry, then Jesse. It's a big day.
Ooh, Larry's double whammy because he's trying to get me to come on Wednesday with him.
Yeah, because Larry knows what's up. Larry ain't no dummy. He sees what's up.
I like going. Larry's fantastic.
Larry's great. And the fact that he reached out to you, I was like, respect. I mean, you kind of got the lay of the land. I guess you know who are the big mockers around here. That's what my dad would say. Anyway, my dad's coming back tomorrow. If you want to see it's been 6 months. 6 months. Return to the Cohn Zone. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Ooh, I can't wait to hear what he has to say about Deebo.